planted.
That's normal, no? We cannot, sabi nga lang, we cannot please everyone. Basta kami yung inyong Philippine Coast Guard, katuwang yung Philippine National Police and the Department of Justice. Tuloy-tuloy lang namin gagawin yung aming trabaho professionally, diligently, and properly.
The Philippines and its allies are commemorating the 9th anniversary of the 2016 arbitral ruling against China. We'll discuss this further with Commodore J. Tariela later in the program. And the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, or PAGCOR, has issued a directive to all licensed gambling operators mandating the removal of all out-of-home advertisements by August 15. Now, this includes billboards on buildings and posters on public transport. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda, the Philippine Coast Guard said no new evidence was found on the third day of its search and retrieval operations in Taal Lake for the missing sabongeros. But operations will continue and expand beyond the initial Ground Zero site. Here is the report.
At a depth of 50 to 70 feet, the technical diving team of the Philippine Coast Guard discovered the sacks on Saturday, the second day of their search and retrieval operation. This site in Laurel, Batangas was identified by whistleblower Julie Dondon Patidongan as the alleged dumping ground of the missing sabongeros. Underwater footage shows the sacks covered in mud. According to the PCG, to prevent the contents from spilling during recovery, the sacks are wrapped in nets and sealed inside new sacks.
Common sense lang naman yun na pag inangat mo at may opening, it might fall out, no? Hindi natin mape-preserve yung integridad ng mga nakukuha natin sa bottom.
The official insists that no evidence is being planted.
That's normal, no? We cannot, sabi nga lang, we cannot please everyone. Tuloy-tuloy lang namin gagawin yung aming trabaho professionally, diligently, and properly.
On the third day of the search, no new evidence was found. The PCG said the team will expand the search area beyond the initial Ground Zero site.
Lumipat na tayo from yung last na nakuha natin kahapon, no, na suspicious object. Nag-move tayo ng northeast, no, 10 meters northeast.
Because of the ongoing search, businesses dependent on the lake have been heavily affected, including the tawilis and tilapia industries in the town of Balete.
Nakaubos po kami ng 100 kilos sa isang araw. Eh ngayon po, mga 20. Minsan nga po, 10 kilo lang sa maghapon. Parang hina po, tuman po talaga. Ang aasahang iba, pagka wala pong isda, wala pong mga trabaho, kundi ganyan lang ang hanap buhay.
A forensic pathologist has criticized authorities for the alleged mishandling of sacks recovered from Taal Lake. Dr. Raquel Fortun raised concern over a photo showing the content of one of these sacks spread out on the ground, saying the items should have been treated as evidence and properly preserved. Now, these sacks are believed to contain human remains linked to missing sabongeros. Fortun emphasized that X-ray scans should have been done before physically inspecting the remains. The Philippine Coast Guard recently retrieved several sacks from the lake bed in Laurel, Batangas, some containing burned bones, stones, and possible sinkers. Meanwhile, whistleblower Julie Patidongan, also known as Alias Totoy, will file counter charges against businessman Atong Ang, who earlier accused him of several crimes, including coercion, slander, and incriminating innocent persons. Patidongan, a former employee of Ang, said he is ready to respond to the allegations and submit his own complaint this week. In addition, Patidongan will file a separate affidavit with the NAPOLCOM against police officers allegedly involved in the disappearance of cockfighting enthusiasts. Now, Patidongan claimed the number of victims exceeds 100, well beyond the 34 officially listed. 11 more Filipino crew members of the MV Magic Seas have arrived in the Philippines. They were aboard a vessel attacked by the Houthi rebels in the Red Sea on July 6. Earlier, the first batch of 6 Filipino crew members from the same vessel had already returned home. The DMW says they will receive financial assistance and undergo health checks upon arrival. Meanwhile, search and rescue operations are still underway for the remaining Filipino crew members of the MV Eternity Sea, which was also attacked by Houthi rebels. Now, so far, 8 out of 21 Filipino seafarers from the ship have been rescued.
Sila po ngayon ay kasalukuyan nating inaasikaso. Nasa kamay po sila ng mga rescuers at sila po ay papunta na sa isang safe na port para sa eventual facilitated repatriation mula po sa Red Sea pabalik po ng Pilipinas.
The Philippine Embassy in Israel has confirmed the death of Leia Mosquera, a 49-year-old Filipina caregiver who was critically injured in an Iranian missile strike in Rehovot on June 15. Mosquera passed away on the morning of July 13 after weeks of intensive care and multiple surgeries at Shamir Medical Center. Now, the embassy is coordinating repatriation efforts and providing support to her family. It also renewed its call for the protection of civilians, especially migrant workers, during armed conflict. 9 years ago, the Philippines won a historic arbitral ruling against China. Today, we ask, what has changed? Commodore J. Tariela of the Philippine Coast Guard will join us next to discuss the reality on the ground. That and more when Morning Matters returns. Keep it here on One News. Good morning, I'm Gresham here on Morning Matters. We talk about the most pressing issues and give you the context behind the headlines. The Philippines and its allies commemorate the 9th anniversary of the 2016 arbitration ruling against China. More in this report.
The Defense Department reminded the public on Friday that the rule of law matters as it commemorated the 9th anniversary of the 2016 Permanent Court of Arbitration ruling on the South China Sea. It ruled in favor of the Philippines amid its dispute with China over the West Philippine Sea, a portion of the South China Sea that Beijing claims in its entirety. The ruling rejected China's then 9-dash line, now 10-dash line, a historical map claiming its maritime rights in the maritime zones of the Philippines and other surrounding countries. The DND underscored that the ruling is not only a legal pronouncement, but a resounding declaration that the only legitimate guide for the conduct of nations is the rule of law, never the imposition of might. Meanwhile, the United States has called on China to comply with the arbitral ruling. In a statement from the U.S. State Department marking the 9th anniversary of the arbitral ruling, they emphasized that the decision has been a vital foundation for peacefully addressing tensions in the South China Sea. The U.S. says its goal is to maintain peace and promote freedom of navigation in the Indo-Pacific region. The Philippine Coast Guard, for its part, will once again conduct the Takbo para sa West Philippine Sea on July 27, an event to be held at the Carino Grandstand in Manila. Funds raised from the run will be used by volunteers for a campaign to raise awareness among Filipino youth about the West Philippine Sea, particularly the challenges faced in these waters, which China continues to claim unlawfully.
Let's discuss this further and more with PCG spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tariela, who joins us today on Morning Matters. Magandang umaga po sa inyo, Commodore.
Good morning, Gretchen. At isang magandang umaga din sa mga viewers mo.
Hey, Commodore, it's been 9 years since the landmark arbitral ruling. Just to give context to the whole situation out on our seas, how would you describe the current situation in the West Philippine Sea from the Philippine Coast Guard's perspective?
I think the behavior of the Chinese Coast Guard remains to be the same in a way that they are insisting that they have jurisdiction and sovereignty over the entire South China Sea. But then again, we should not see it based on the behavior of the People's Republic of China. We should see it on how the international community and, of course, our Filipino people value the arbitral award. Um, as you can see, Gretchen, no? more Filipinos now are supportive for our fight in the West Philippine Sea. And there's also an increasing number of countries who are also supportive of the 2016 arbitral award. And I think that's the most positive impact of the transparency efforts that we have been doing to ensure that our fight in the West Philippine Sea is in accordance with the law, and that the 2016 arbitral award is is a clear evidence of the intent of the Philippine government that what we are doing is that this is in accordance with UNCLOS, and we do not intend to escalate the tension. But it's always the People's Republic of China who choose to violate the UNCLOS and not recognize the 2016 arbitral award.
Well, Commodore, along with the increasing calls from the Philippines and international powers surrounding this issue, China has also responded, albeit a little bit more aggressively. Do you think they have also escalated the way they have treated the situation in the West Philippine Sea, given what has happened in the Sandy Cay, in Bajo de Masinloc, and also seeing them patrolling off the waters very, very near our coastlines?
Well, as what I said, Gretchen, the Chinese government will just keep on insisting about what they believe is correct, and that they are going to keep on pursuing that they have legitimacy over the entire South China Sea. So we can really expect, no, that the Chinese Coast Guard, together with the Chinese Maritime Militia, will continuously carry out unlawful activities in these waters in the West Philippines.
Okay, just to compare the situation, because I believe before the Transparency Initiative, we didn't really have any or much oversight over the realities out on our seas. Baga hindi po natin nakikita. Pag kinumpara po ninyo, no, I mean, ngayon po ba ay talagang mas aggressive na ngayon lang yung water cannoning nangyayari as compared to before you started publicizing what was happening out there?
Well, Gretch, I have to remind you, that even during the time of Secretary Lorenzana, November of 2021, it was him who exposed the use of the Chinese Coast Guard water cannon against the resupply boat of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. That means the water cannoning of the Chinese Coast Guard has been happening before. The only difference under this administration is that every time that the Chinese Coast Guard used their water cannon, we expose them to the international community, and we allow the Filipino people to know about it. So that means the level of aggression and the local activities of the People's Republic of China has been ongoing since we started the transparency, even before we started transparency efforts.
Yesterday, there were reports that there was a presence of two PLA Navy warships and a Chinese Coast Guard vessel off the waters of Mindoro. Tell us more about that.
Yes, this PLA Navy warship that we monitored actually started from Pangasinan, and then the BRP Teresa Magmanwa 9701 was directed by the Commandant Admiral Ronnie Hilgavan to intercept, to challenge their presence, and to inquire also their intention. So from Bulinaw, we escorted them, we shadowed them until we reached Occidental Mindoro. And then that's the time that the Chinese Coast Guard, Chinese PLA Navy vessel already went farther away from our exclusive economic zone. So it is also worth noting that despite of our radio challenges, the PLA Navy warship never responded. And when we were in Occidental Mindoro, we also noticed that one of the PLA Navy warship is actually conducting helicopter landing exercise. No? And we once again called them out that this is our exclusive economic zone and that they are not authorized to conduct any military operation within our exclusive economic zone. But they never responded. It was only the Chinese Coast Guard who acted as an escort of these PLA Navy warships that they were claiming that they have sovereignty and jurisdiction over the waters in Occidental Mindoro.
Palagi ho ba nangyayari yung gano'n, yung helicopter landing exercise? And palagi rin po ba sila dumadaan dito sa Mindoro o unique po itong event na ito?
On the part of Philippine Coast Guard, these are first time to see a PLA Navy warship conducting helicopter landing exercise that we were able to document. This is, kumbaga, unang pagkakataon namin na makakita ng ganito. And that despite of our continuous and persistent challenges, they still carried out such exercise the entire day na monitor namin sila.
Kasi napakalapit po, no? Pag sinabing Mindoro, medyo, it's up north, no? Saan kaya maaring manggaling itong PLA Navy warship? Were you able to monitor?
Yes, the PLA Navy warship, based on the dark vessel detection that we have been using, it came all the way north, no? Ibig sabihin, there's a possibility that it came from mainland People's Republic of China and then binaybay itong western seaboard natin and lumayo lang farther out from our exclusive economic zone sa may bandang area na ng Mindoro.
Well, this comes, of course, on the heels of the 9th anniversary of the Arbitral Award. You think China was making a statement here by sending its PLA Navy ships that near?
Well, I cannot speak for the People's Republic of China, but that is something that we just get used to, no? I mean, they have been deploying their Coast Guard, their warship, their Chinese maritime militia. It's just like an ordinary thing for them. Whether they are commemorating the 9th Arbitral Award as, I don't know, whether they're happy with what we are remembering on that day, it doesn't really matter. No? It's like very common naman sa kanila for them to disrespect our exclusive economic zone.
Pero pagka PLA Navy warship na po ang pinag-uusapan, medyo ibang, I mean like, if it's a Philippine Coast Guard, iba po yun, di ba? Pagka Navy warship, parang medyo alarming na ho yun, ano? I mean, describe to us the movement of those warships. Was it expeditious at the very least?
Well, you cannot say it's expeditious. As I said, Gretch, no? It conducted a helicopter landing exercise. That means at some point it has to
Tumigil
stop.
siya. Oo.
So obviously it's not expeditious while she awaits for the helicopter to land. So I don't think that their intention is just to invoke the freedom of navigation, no? In our exclusive economic zone. And secondly, what complicates their presence is that the Chinese Coast Guard, no, are claiming that they have jurisdiction and sovereignty over the waters in Occidental Mindoro.
Has the sovereignty, I mean, wow, it's the same call, I mean, across the EEZ, it's very, very near our waters. Has the Philippine Coast Guard detected more ships, Chinese ships passing through our sea lanes and maritime zones? Because I remember last year, or was it months ago, they were going through the internal waters of the Philippines. Has that continued on?
Well, for this year, what is very significant is that there is an increased number of Chinese research vessels. We were able to monitor a substantial increase of Chinese research vessels, not just in the West Philippine Sea, but even up north, no, in Batanes. So I think that's the only considerable number that you would say very significantly increased.
And where have they been passing, these Chinese research vessels?
Well, the Chinese research vessels that we monitored up north, it's actually within our own exclusive economic zone. So they are sometimes up north, just a few nautical miles outside the border of the Philippines and Taiwan. And then we also saw Chinese research vessel, of course, in in different maritime features in Calayan Island too.
Okay. Of course, China has responded to the ninth anniversary, and they call it a piece of waste paper, saying that the arbitration violated the principle of state consent, and that the arbitral tribunal exercised its jurisdiction ultra vires and rendered an award in disregard of the law. What would you say to that?
Well, Gretch, I'm not a lawyer, but one thing is clear, no? Those issues that the People's Republic of China are now raising, they have already raised that during the tribunal deliberation of the case. So it was already decided that even if they did not participate during the hearing of the tribunal, it doesn't really matter. Secondly, I don't think that our decision for unilateral filing of the case against the People's Republic of China violates such arbitration, because it is clearly specified in UNCLOS that countries like us, as a signatory to UNCLOS, have the right to subject our dispute to arbitration, and that's what we did. And the People's Republic of China is also a signatory state to UNCLOS. So they should understand much more, right? That we never violated anything. And secondly, the most important thing is more countries are supportive of the arbitral award. So the mere fact that countries are increasing, that means that the 2016 arbitral award is valid, binding, and has significant legitimacy to be enforced.
Commodore, kayo po ay nag-file ng libel complaint versus Rogando Sasot. Si Alan Troy Sasot, the real name. Okay. Ano po bang nireklamo niyo po dun sa complaint na yun? Ano po bang sinasabi po niya tungkol sa inyo?
Alam mo, Gretch, tatlong grounds yung basihan ng aming cyber libel. No? Yung una sa lahat, yung sinabi niyang nagpunta daw ako sa bahay ni Speaker Romualdez at may dala-dala daw akong black bag na marami daw pera. Well, una sa lahat, I don't know where is the residence of Speaker Romualdez. At saka hindi talaga ako nagpunta ng bahay niya to get black bags of money. And secondly, he also claimed I am receiving $4 million na talent fee from the US Embassy. No? Hindi ko rin alam kung anong naging basehan niya dyan, kung may payroll ba siya na kopya, no? Para sabihin meron akong stipend sa US Embassy. And then third, he also claims that I'm the one running the Operation Atlantis of the US government. Siguro masyado na siyang nanood ng Justice League nang nasa China siya. Kaya naisip niya mayroong Operation Atlantis at akala niya siguro ako si Aquaman. These are the three reasons why we decided to file cyber libel against Mr. Alan Rogando Sasot. And it's a criminal and civil case as well.
Commodore, Sino po? Sino pa po? May kasama po kayo?
Together with my legal team. With
okay.
Tony Lavinia, of course.
Okay, Commodore, paano po kaya isa-serve itong libel complaint? Kasi naalala ko, may nag-file din po sa kanya recently. I think Senator Risa po yun. Tapos parang hinamon pa niya, no? Na parang dapat ma-serve sa kanya. If she is in China, is it still possible to receive that complaint here in the Philippines? Did you talk to your legal team about that?
Honestly, I really don't know, but Attorney Tony Lavinia and his legal team is very confident that we can be able to ensure that this complaint will be able to reach his attention.
Okay. I guess, nag-usap-usap po ba kayo nila Shelo Magno? What convinced you to finally do this?
Alam mo, para sa akin, Gretch, no? Parang kailangan mo na talaga silang patulan at some point. Because if you're just going to keep on allowing them to post trash and fake news and misinformation, para sa akin, it's not just an attack to my personality, but it's actually an attack on our fight for the West Philippine Sea. Ngayon, kung lagi na lang tayong mananahimik, lagi na lang natin silang iaalaw na ganyan, there's a possibility that the Filipino people will also be swayed. And they would think na baka totoo nga to, si Commodore Tariela, binayaran ni Speaker, binayaran ng US Embassy, at binabayaran ng US government kaya sinisiraan ng China. Imagine kung sa 8 out of 10 na naniniwala, may dalawang naniniwala sa kanya. It's still very difficult for the government to get our 100 support ng lahat ng ating kababayan Pilipino dahil sa mga fake news na ganito. Gaya ng sinabi ko, Gretch, no? Ang laban natin sa West Philippines, hindi lang ito laban ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos at hindi lang ito laban ng Coast Guard at ng Armed Forces of the Philippines. Laban nating lahat ito bilang Pilipino. That is the reason why we need to keep on fighting for disinformation and fake news.
And speaking of laban ng Pilipino, mukhang mapapalaban po kayo sa takbo. Dito sa takbo para sa West Philippine Sea this upcoming July 27. Pang-apat na leg na po ito, no? What made you decide to continue it this year? And what is the goal of the run?
Well, the objective of the Takbo para sa West Philippine Sea is to make the Filipino aware, again, of our fight in the West Philippine Sea. And also to get the support of the Filipino people. May mga ordinaryong tao nagtatanong paano sila makakapagpakita ng suporta sa ating Armed Forces of the Philippines and the Philippine Coast Guard. And I think that is very simple. No? You just have to join the run and let us show the world how united we are in standing up against bullies like the People's Republic of China. And most importantly, yung proceeds nitong takbo para sa West Philippine Sea will also be used for the publication ng ating comic book that we are distributing sa public schools for them to have information about our fight in the West Philippines.
Yun yung gusto ko itanong, ito yung ang progress ng comic book kasi doon, nabasa ko nga ho yun, very specific yung pagpapaliwanag at talagang nilalemanize niya yung sitwasyon dito sa West Philippine Sea, ano nga ba yung continental shelf, ano yung territorial sea, EEZ, etc. etc. Has the Department of Education contacted you for an official publication of yun nga po yung learning materials because there is a House bill filed on making education about the West Philippine Sea mandatory for students. Meron na po bang mga ganong usapin sa actual publication ng mga books o textbooks o literary pieces?
Well, during the launching of the comic book project last year, we invited Secretary Angara together with the National Security Advisor, Secretary Anyo, and he was very supportive of the idea. As a matter of fact, I think through the National Security Council, they are discussing with DepEd the possibility of curriculum adjustment, particularly when it comes to the West Philippine Sea, UNCLOS, and of course the historical basis of our position. So yeah, Secretary Angara is very supportive of including WPS lessons sa ating mga kabataang Pilipino.
Pero ano po yung sa inyong pag-iikot po, ano po yung sa tingin yung needs improvement pagdating sa pag-iintindi dito sa sitwasyon sa West Philippine Sea? Pag nakakausap niyo po ang ordinaryong Pilipino.
Alam mo, Gretch, nakapunta na ako ng different major universities dito sa Pilipinas, from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Ang pinaka-unang tanong na binabato ko sa mga college students natin ay saan ang West Philippine Sea. And you will be surprised. Siguro mga 4 out of 5 na mga estudyante cannot even explain to you where the West Philippine Sea is. And then the second question is, what is the difference between West Philippine Sea and South China Sea? Majority of the students cannot also tell the difference between the two. Etong basic lang na to ang itanong natin sa kanila, hindi pa nila masagot. And then the third question that I always ask is, bilang kabataang Pilipino, naniniwala ka bang ang West Philippine Sea ay contested? Unfortunately, and very sadly, ang sagot ng 8 out of 10 na kabataang Pilipino ay yes, contested daw ito. That's why we have to make effort, no? Double our efforts to make sure na ang may sasagot na ng kabataang Pilipino ay hindi ito contested dahil as far as the Philippines is concerned, this belongs to the Filipino.
And lastly, invite niyo po ang ating mga mga manonood to join the takbo para sa West Philippine Sea.
Well, Gretchen, una sa lahat, ikaw ang ini-invite ko, no? Mag-join ka ng takbo. Pag nag-join ka, mas maraming mag-register, no? So let me take this opportunity to invite everybody. This is the way that we can show to our bully neighbor that we are actually united for one cause, and that is to stand firm and to make sure that we're not going to surrender a square inch of our territory to any foreign power. Ang kikitain po ng takbo na ito ay gagamitin po ng ating National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea for the publication of comic book. This is an information material that we're distributing to public schools para po maintindihan ng ating kabataang Pilipino ang ipinaglalaban natin sa West Philippines.
Ilang
Maraming
kilometers po? Ilang kilometers?
3 kilometers, 5 and 10. Sa grandstand ito sa Quirino grandstand natin ito gaganapin.
Of course, that's July 27 on a Sunday. All right, maraming salamat. How do they sign up? Last na.
Nasa nasa website siya at sa social media platform ng Run Rio.
All right, okay. Maraming salamat sa iyo at happy anniversary sa ating mga Pilipino. Okay, we have PCG spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tariela. Bad weather. DepEd has introduced a new policy. All classes will shift to modular or online learning once a signal number 2 warning is in effect. And by the order of PAGCOR, all licensed gambling operators must take down their out-of-home advertisements, such as billboards and posters on public transportation, no later than August 15. Don't go away. More on Morning Matters after a short break. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Manila 3rd District Representative Joel Chua has filed House Bill 1404, which proposes to include mobile phones among items eligible for the 20% senior citizen discount. Chua said many elderly Filipinos still lack access to mobile phones, limiting their ability to communicate, access government services, and conduct online transactions. The bill also seeks to encourage telecom companies to develop senior-friendly phone models and applications featuring clear displays, readable fonts, intuitive icons, and easy-to-follow instructions. In addition to digital inclusion, House Bill 1404 includes provisions to expand pension coverage and PhilHealth enrollment to all senior citizens and not just the indigents. To talk more about this proposed bill, we have on the show today Manila 3rd District Representative Joel Chua. Magandang umaga po sa inyo, Congressman.
Hi, good morning, Gretchen, at sa lahat ng iyong mga taga-subaybay.
A very interesting bill, 1404. No? I guess, ano pong nagtulak po sa inyo para i-propose tong bill na to? At matutuwa mga senior citizen kung sakasakaling mapasa po ito.
Well, nakikita naman natin, Gretchen, no, na halos lahat ngayon papunta na sa app sa talagang medyo high-tech na yung mga transactions ngayon. At siyempre, gusto naman natin ayaw mapag-iwanan yung mga senior citizen. But we want, of course, na yung cellphone, makapag-produce din yung mga gumagawa ng mga cellphone na senior-friendly na cellphone. Kasi siyempre, hindi naman lahat talaga techie. At saka we want cellphone na medyo affordable para kasi alam naman natin ngayon na talagang hindi na siya luho eh. Parang naging na siya eh, necessary na siya sa lahat ng mga tao.
Tsaka ito nga pong, tama po kayo, no? May napag-usapan niyo na rin. Lahat po ba ng mobile phones ay kasama dito sa discount na ito? O pag sinabing mobile phone, dapat yung hindi luho ang masasaklaw ng discount na pinapropose po ninyo?
Siyempre tayo gusto natin lahat sana ng klase. But of course, itong bill naman na ito, dadalhin ito sa committee level. So once nasa committee level na, titignan natin kung ano rin ang magiging mga opinion, mga inputs na ibibigay sa atin ng mga seller netong mga mobile phone.
Sa inyong pag-aaral, magkano po ba yung average na kailangan gastusin ng isang senior citizen to afford a phone?
Iba-iba kasi ang problema ngayon kasi, Gretchen, yung mga senior citizen natin, syempre yung mga iba nahihiya na rin no, na humingi sa kanilang mga anak, 'di ba? Kaya ang gusto natin na hangga't maaari yung mga medyo reasonable na presyo na mga cellphone yung as long as po pwede yung mga app. Kasi may mga cellphone talaga na obsolete na hindi pa talaga applicable yung mga app eh. So siguro dapat makapag-develop na rin ng ganyan. Dahil alam mo Gretchen, ngayon halos lahat ngayon pinapasok na sa app eh. So pati pagbabayad, lalong-lalo na yung mga senior citizen. Kaya gusto nila mas malalaki yung font. Ngayon, ina-adjust pa natin yung font. 'Di ba? So yung mga simpleng ganyan. So kaya ang kailangan medyo hindi naman masyadong mahal. Pero siyempre depende sa kapasidad ng mga senior citizen.
Marami po bang lumapit sa inyo na senior kaya naisip niyo po ito? Ano po napansin niyo sa inyong distrito?
May mga lumalapit sa akin kasi yung iba talaga mga benepisyo minsan sa app na nakukuha eh. 'Di ba? So sabi nila mas maganda kung kaya lang yung iba no, sabi nila ang problema dun sa mga sa mga cellphone ngayon masyadong high-tech. Yung mga senior citizen natin minsan hindi nakakasabay. Kaya siguro maganda na rin to. Sa akin naman kasi ito testing to eh. So sana yung mga telecom no na nagpo-produce ng mga cellphone sana ma-realize nila na kailangan mag-adjust na rin para lahat maging inclusive sa lahat, hindi lamang sa mga techie.
Kumbaga parang underserved sector po ito na tumatawag po kayo ng pansin sana na matugunan. Tama naman ho kayo kasi nga marami na nga din kahit nga pag pumunta po kayo ng pag-ibig, ng PhilHealth, ng SSS, marami po online na ina-access pati yung registration. Pero baka naman po pwedeng samahan din ng magtuturo dito sa mga senior citizen kung paano gumamit nitong mga cellphone. Wala po ba kayong ganung provision?
Well, maganda yung suggestion mo. Pero kasi ito naman dadalhin sa committee level eh. So doon sa committee level, malalaman natin lahat kung ano mga magiging problema. At syempre, mag-i-invite din tayo ng mga resource person, mga senior citizen, na talaga namang nais din dito na mai-push itong bill na to.
Bukod po dito, Congressman, kayo rin po ay tumatawag for an expansion of the benefits for senior citizens under PhilHealth. Ano po yung mga expanded benefits na hinahangad po ninyo dito sa bill?
Well, marami kasi alam mo ngayon dapat tignan natin yung lagi natin bibigyan sana ng priority no yung mga senior citizen din dahil nakikita naman natin parami yung mga senior citizen. Halimbawa na lang yung sa mga gamot sana ma-cover na to ng mga kung ano-ano pa mga Kaya tayo naghahanap tayo. Lahat itong mga bill na pinapasa natin gagawin po natin yan. Once na nabuksan ang committee level, kasi mismo yung mga senior citizen mismo, ang hihingian natin ng mga opinion nila kung ano pa yung mga sa tingin nila na mas nararapat.
Okay. Ako po ay tatawid na sa ibang issue. Okay, Congressman, itong kahapon, over the weekend rather, the Commission on Audit released an unmodified opinion on the spending of the Vice President's office, of its budget. What does this mean? Does this mean settled na po yung issue sa confidential funds?
Wala namang confidential fund for the past ilang years ang ating Vice President. So, hindi ko nga malaman kung ano itong sinasabi nilang unmodified issue. But in any event, I'm sure hindi naman ito covered ng mga naging topic namin sa Committee on Good Government.
Oo, pero kasi po pag sinabi pong parang unmodified opinion, hindi po ba parang naaprubahan na ng COA, na-certify na nila na maayos yung pagkakagasta ng pera ng Vice Presidente. And I remember during the hearing, sinasabi po ng VP na sa COA dapat masettle ito at hindi sa mga hearing. What does this mean for the investigation in general into the confidential fund use?
Alam mo, Gretchen, nung tinanong namin yung COA, nung nagkanta kami ng... Itong pinagsimulan kasi nito yung Committee on Appropriation, kung maalala ninyo. So, nung nagkanta kami ng committee hearing, tinanong namin yung COA, bakit nagkaroon ng notice of disallowance ang confidential fund? Ang ibig sabihin ba nito may problema? At mismo yung COA ang nagsabi na yes, may problema yung paggamit. Kaya siguro ito dapat maliwanagan sa COA kung ano ang ibig sabihin nila dito sa kanilang latest na ni-release.
I guess that will be put into light if ever a trial does happen over in the Senate. But before that, the Office of the Ombudsman has also started a preliminary investigation into the use of confidential funds. At parang kayo ho yung ginawang complainant, ano?
Yeah, nagtataka lang naman kami. But actually, hininto yata ng Office of the Ombudsman nung ito po pinagot namin. Dahil nagtataka kami kasi yung bilis ng aksyon ng Office of the Ombudsman is not ordinary. But of course, we welcome the subpoena of the Ombudsman. Kasi kung maalala po ninyo, last year, noong November, sinasabi po ng Ombudsman na wala silang nakikitang problema. And then, ngayon, bigla na lang nilang binibigyan. Actually, tumawid sila sa sa fact-finding, sa sa case build-up Normal yan, nag-aano muna ng fact-finding and then bago yung preliminary investigation. Ngayon, biglang nag-preliminary investigation na agad sila. But, syempre, nare-respeto natin kung ano man ang maging desisyon ng ating Ombudsman.
So sa last update po natin, tinigil na po ng Ombudsman itong investigation. Dahil po ba sa transition into the new Ombudsman?
Hindi ko po alam kung dahil sa transition, but kami kasi naniniwala, ang ating pong Vice-Presidente ay impeachable officer. At kung titignan po natin yung charter po ng Ombudsman, yung nag-create sa Office of the Ombudsman, ang nakalagay po kasi doon, lahat ng mga public officials, whether elected or appointed, ay saklaw po nila para imbestigahan. Maliban po sa mga impeachable officers. Kaya dapat matapos muna ang impeachment bago po nila buksan ang criminal case or admin case ng ating Vice-Presidente. Yun po ang aming opinion.
Ibig sabihin, hindi na po humingi ang Ombudsman ng counter-affidavit mula po sa Kamara?
Ang counter-affidavit po ay manggagaling po kay VP.
Okay.
So,
Sabi po kasi go ahead.
Po is reply, pero kami naman po, lahat naman po isusumitin namin. Siguro yung pagre-resolve po, yung po muna ang ipepending po muna nila.
Kasi sabi po niya, bibigyan namin ang Kamara ng sufficient time to file their pledge from the time that they receive a copy of the counter-affidavit pala. And if you don't want to cooperate, that you may be cited in contempt. The House may be cited in contempt, sabi po ni Ombudsman Samuel Martires. So hindi na po mapupunta sa ganon.
Kasi ang alam ko po, yung latest pronouncement po niya, parang sinabi niya na i-hold muna nila eh. Meron po siyang latest, so maybe you can check on that.
I guess that is settled. But for now, let's move on over to the Senate. The first thing that will be on the agenda once it resumes on July 29 will be the answer ad cautelam. How is the prosecution, which you are a part of, preparing for this?
We already submitted our reply in response to the answer ad cautelam. So as of now, we are awaiting for the Senate to set the pre-trial date. So hanggang ngayon, nag-aantay pa rin po kami.
Siguro ang katanungan ng taong bayan, magkakaroon po ba ng trial? Paano po kaya mangyayari yun? I mean, what are the pathways that the prosecution sees to making that happen? Because meron nga po nag-argue, bakit hindi na lang po natin buksan yung trial and have all of these jurisdictional questions in a trial? Sa inyong pag-uusap, ano po kaya? What would it take to open a trial?
Well, kami po sa totoo lang, inaantay rin po namin at yung katanungan po ninyo ay katanungan din po namin. Pero tanging Senado lamang po makakasagot yan dahil sa ngayon ang bola po ay nasa Senado. Pero kami po, siyempre, ay patuloy ang paghahanda po namin dito. Once mag-resume na, mag-assume ang impeachment trial, makakaasa po ang taong bayan na kami po ay naghahanda.
Ano po inaasahan po ninyo sa pagbabalik o pagbubukas ng sesyon sa first day? Magtatagal po kaya dito sa sa jurisdictional questions?
Actually, maraming mga issue na lumalabas, no? Hindi lang sa jurisdictional issue, meron pang issue na sinasabi na i-dismiss daw itong aming impeachment complaint. But Gretchen, kung titignan natin ang ating saligang batas, maliwanag ang mandato na sinasabi po nito. Ang sabi po dito na dapat ay once ang impeachment complaint ay na-transmit na sa Senado, dapat trial should proceed forthwith. Ibig sabihin, dapat magkaroon ng trial. At pagkatapos po ng trial, saka lamang magkakaroon ng desisyon.
Pero ano po ang mga usap-usapan? I mean, what are you hearing on the mood or the temperature in the Senate? Mukha po bang mapupunta ron?
Well, sana wag, no? Dahil nare-respeto natin ang ating mga senador dahil maliwanag din sa rules ng na kung saan sila rin mismo ang gumawa na dapat ay magkakaroon ng political neutrality. So sana inaasahan natin na yung mga sinumpaan nilang tungkulin na ito ay kanilang tutuparin.
Okay. Si Attorney Lorna Kapunan, will she still be part of the prosecution panel?
Si Attorney Lorna Kapunan ay hindi naman po part. Yes, we are from time to time seeking from siyempre yung mga insights nila, mga legal opinion nila. Actually, hindi lang naman si Attorney Kapunan. Marami naman po kami mga abogado na tinatanong. So yung as to the members, wala pa pong final.
Wala pang final. And when will that be determined, the final list?
Siguro, once na nagsimula na, we will determine. Anyway, nandiyan lang naman po lahat yung mga abogado na nagpo-volunteer po at nagbibigay po sa amin ng mga kanilang mga legal opinion and expert opinion.
Okay, pero sa inyong palagay, itong kanyang involvement dito sa missing Sabongeros as a representative of Atong Ang, do you think it could affect her involvement here?
Well, as a lawyer, abogado po yan. Siyempre, lahat naman po ng mga, ang abogado naman po talaga namang tumatanggap ng mga kaso, iba't ibang klase ng kaso. Yun sa amin naman po, libre lang Pro bono lang naman mga to, yung mga abogado
Oo. Meron din po pala akong nabasa dito sa latest survey ng SWS. na kung saan parang 4 out of 10 Filipinos believe that the Senate is intentionally delaying the start of the trial. So that's about 44%. But the more interesting data here is that the survey also measured public awareness of the impeachment complaint filed against the vice president, which showed and revealed that the 41% learned about the impeachment only during the survey interview. Ibig sabihin, hindi po nila alam until tinanong sila. I mean, don't you find this alarming na ano pong nasisense po ninyo sa mga Pilipino pagdating dito sa impeachment? Kulang po ba ng kaalaman?
Well, kung yun ang sinasabi ng ating survey, maaari. Pero actually, yung iba kasi hindi naman din alam nila kung ano talaga yung mismong laman ng impeachment. Kaya tingin ko mas mahalaga na maging aware po at siyempre napakalaki po ng papel ng mass media, kagaya po ninyo, para mailahat po sa ating mga kababayan kung ano po talaga ang nangyayari at kaganapan dito po sa ating gobyerno.
Okay, so kaya po ba kinuha niyo si Attorney Bukoy? I mean, is that a response to that?
Not necessarily. Si Attorney Bukoy naman, ay kilala naman po natin. Talaga namang ever since, member po siya ng FLAG, talaga namang pupul siya. At talaga naman yung kanyang experience as a litigation lawyer, hindi rin naman natin matatawaran. So, malaking bagay din po yung participation po ni Attorney Bukoy.
Okay, Congressman, huling katanungan, kayo po ay nag-file ng bill para din po madeklara si Dolphy bilang isang national artist. Ano po ang inyong justification to declare him as national artist?
Alam mo, high time na dahil pag sinabi mo naman talagang yung contribution po ni Dolphy sa ating pinalakang tabing ay talaga namang hindi rin natin matatawaran. Alam mo, si Dolphy ay masasabi po natin hindi lamang king ng comedy, pero masasabi na rin po natin na isa rin po siya sa mga muka ng industriya. So siguro dapat bigyan din po natin ng parangal yung mga taong kagaya po niya. Dahil yung kanyang contribution dito po sa industry ay hindi rin naman matatawaran.
Ay, batang-bata pa po ako, nanonood na nga ako ng Home Along the Rails. Kayo po, anong paborito nyo?
Ako, mahalata po ninyo kung ano edad ko.
Ano po?
John and Marcia.
John and Marcia. Oo, yung 1945 po ba? Yung joke lang. Okay, maraming salamat po. Thank you so much for spending your morning with us. We have Manila 3rd District Representative Joel Chua. Abangan po namin kayo sa Kongreso.
Maraming salamat.
Meanwhile, classes will shift to modular or online learning whenever a signal number 2 storm is raised. Now, that was announced by Education Secretary Sonny Angara. And according to him, this is part of the Education Department's new policy aimed at minimizing class disruptions during bad weather. He added that this will ensure that students can continue learning safely at home. Speaking of the weather, the southwest monsoon or habagat continues to affect most parts of the country. Scattered rains are expected over western Visayas, Negros Island, Zamboanga Peninsula, and northern Mindanao. Now, the same goes for Zambales, Bataan, Occidental Mindoro, Romblon, and Palawan. Metro Manila and the rest of the country may also experience isolated rains still due to the habagat. Stay tuned. Morning Matters will be back with more after a quick break. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, or PAGCOR, has ordered all licensed gambling operators to take down out-of-home advertisements, including billboards on buildings and posters on public transport, beginning August 15. PAGCOR Chair Alejandro Tenco said the move aims to protect vulnerable sectors, especially the youth, from excessive gambling exposure. Operators are required to submit an inventory of all billboard ads by July 16, detailing size, location, material, permits, and contract details. Replacing removed ads with new ones will not be tolerated. The agency is also working with the Ad Standards Council to tighten rules on gambling ads on TV and digital platforms. Vice President Sara Duterte dismissed a viral photo showing her father, former President Rodrigo Duterte, lying in a hospital bed. The Vice President called it fake and likely edited. She clarified that the former president is not in a hospital or in the ICC detention unit, but in the regular wing of the International Criminal Court. VP Sara added that Duterte, though much thinner, is in good condition and was even seen walking with a cane. In the world of sports, TNT Tropang Giga survived a furious fourth quarter rally by the San Miguel Beermen to take Game 1 of the PBA Philippine Cup Finals 99-96 at the Araneta Coliseum. The Tropang Giga led by as many as 24 points and held a 92-74 cushion early in the fourth. But the Beermen roared back with a 19-0 run to briefly seize a 93-92 lead. Roger Pogoy delivered 23 points, including the go-ahead triple, with just over a minute left. June Mar Fajardo paced San Miguel with 26 points and 15 rebounds. TNT will aim for a 2-0 series for the PBA Finals. In volleyball, PLDT remains unbeaten in the 2025 PVL On Tour after defeating Choco Mucho at the Capital Arena in Ilagan City, Isabela. Kiana D led PLDT with 15 points and was named player of the game as 5 high-speed hitters scored in double figures. Joy Prado also had 15, while Majoy Baron and Kisha Bedonia added 14 each, with Baron registering 6 blocks. Mika Reyes chipped in 10 to help PLDT improve to 3-0 in Pool A. Ayesha Juegos led Choco Mucho with 13 points off the bench, but the Flying Titans fell to a 1-3 record after their third straight loss. And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you the right start to your morning. Let's go ahead and make the week and the day matter. My name is Gretchen Ho. We are One News, all sides, all the time.